Day to pray. To win the support of Romans for his projects, the Pope donated to the city 5 bronze statues, including the famous she-wolf, which had been stored at the Basilica of St. John Lateran until then, thus establishing the first public museum in the world, the Capitoline Museum. On the Capitoline Hill, where Jove was worshipped by Romans as Optimus et Maximus, Sixtus transferred the glory of the antique past to Christianity, Christianitas. To take care of Romans' daily needs, Sixtus reconstructed aqueducts which had been destroyed during the turbulent and restless years just after the fall of the empire. Through the reconstruction of the 20-kilometer aqueduct, Aqua Virgo, which supplied the Trevi Foundation with water, the Pope matched tremendous architectural projects by the emperors of the ancient Rome. Similarly to Caesar Augustus, who is said to have found Rome a city of bricks and left it a city of marble, making it a true capital of the pagan empire, Sixtus IV, and then his nephew Julius II, turned Rome into the Christian capital of the world. But the most magnificent gift from Sixtus IV to posterity was the Sistine Chapel. Though on the outside it resembles a medieval fortress, inside it conceals a treasure of frescoes by the best painters of those times. Here are 2 frescoes by Pietro Perugino and Sandro Botticelli. Perugino depicted the delivery of the keys, that is, he painted the moment when the papacy was established. The majestic perspective of the fresco, with square stabs running toward triumphal arches standing in the background, gives the impression of all-embracing order. The apostles are looking reverently at Christ, who is giving gold keys to Peter and raising one of them to emphasize his mercy. The octagonal edifice is the background of the fresco, typical for early Christian baptistries, symbolizes renewal and purification. The fresco is like a manifesto. It declares to everyone the necessity to accept the authority passed down to Peter's successor. On the opposite wall, Botticelli paints another arch, but this one crumbles down. It constitutes background for the punishment of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. It is a dramatic moment. Aaron's authority passed to him by Moses is negated by Korah's family. It gives rise to chaos. The earth splits open to swallow up rebels, and an earthquake destroys the world. The 2 frescoes are the last paintings seen by cardinals entering the chapel to elect a new pope during a conclave. This is a strict warning against the consequences of opposition against the existing order. Toward the end of the 15th century, the papacy became an unchallenged leader in art patronage, and Rome was blossoming with new works. Something was missing, though. Pope Julius II remedied the gap with a splendid collection of antique statues donated to Vatican City. The statue of Apollo of the Belvedere is a Roman copy of the Greek bronze original held in high esteem. This marble statue embodies the elegance of the classical Greek sculpture. The ideal proportions, elegant counterpoise, and the calm and detached expression of Apollo's face inspired Renaissance artists to endow their statues of saints with the same natural grace. Soon the statue of Apollo gets a competitor, a statue of the Laocoon group, Laocoon being a Trojan priest from Virgil's Aeneid, killed together with his 2 sons by sea serpents. The statue, attributed to Pliny the Elder, to Agasander, Athenodoros, and Polydorus of Rhodes, used to ornament the palace of Emperor Titus. It was said to exceed all works of painting and sculpture. Until January 14, 1506, the sculpture was considered lost. On that day, Michelangelo was asked to take a look at an unusual discovery on the vineyard of Felice de Fredis on the Oppian Hill. The artist went there and saw a hole which had just been dug out and a statue in it covered with soil, roots, and leaves. The Laocoone group is an example of the dynamic Hellenic style. The exaggerated muscularity and expressive arrangement of the body set the person in apparent movement. Without that sculpture, Michelangelo's ambitious project to paint frescoes in the Sistine Chapel would have never been born. In the Apostolic Palace, the most renowned works of the pagan antiquity found their new location. Pieces of sculpture which had belonged in a world that persecuted Christians and worshipped false gods were revived by those who rejected heathendom. How come Christians created such a paradox? What made them preserve remains of the extinct pagan culture so scrupulously? There is no other place to combine the heathen past and the Christian present so perfectly as the Stanza della Segnatura. Pope Julius II engaged the young Raphael Santi to paint frescoes in his study. The artist decided to surround the Pope's throne standing by the window with 2 frescoes whose subjects would be law. The Emperor Justinian received a code which was named after him and which organized and compiled Roman law in one book. It is an allusion to the Pope and his earthly authority, as the head of the Papal State and head of the United Church before the Reformation. The other fresco shows Gregory XI receiving a book of decrees, a source of canon law. Gregory XI has the face of Julius II, a Renaissance ruler and contemporary successor of emperors, but also shepherd of the universal church, called upon to lead an increasing sheepfold. Opposite the throne in the 2 frescoes, there's Mount Parnassus, home of the 9 muses surrounding Apollo, god of poetry. The fresco tells about the conversion of art. 3 mortals are privileged to appear among the gods' favorites: the blind Homer, Virgil, and Dante, dressed in a red mantle. Homer and ancient writers paved the way for Dante's Christian epic poem, Divine Comedy. In the School of Athens, a group of philosophers are having a discussion under the high arches of a classical building. 2 men are walking in our direction under an arch of a perfect perspective. The elder of them, Plato, indicates perfection, while the younger one, Aristotle, the material world. Great thinkers and philosophers are crowding at the top of the stairs. Among them there is Socrates in an olive cloak, having a discussion with his friend Alcibiades. Other persons are grouped on the stairs in schools of philosophy. Pythagoras is writing while the Arab mathematician Alhazen is looking over his shoulder. Diogenes the Cynic is sitting all alone on the stairs, while Euclid and Ptolemy are surrounded by worshipful students. Raphael's fresco starts with 2 persons and extends to various schools and their students, depicting the transfer of knowledge in the teaching process. When defining space in the Disputation of the Sacrament, Raphael was inspired by the Greek word ekklesia, meaning people called together. Prophets and apostles absorbed in the conversation form the semicircle of the apse. The gilt dome of angels represents the presence of God the Father in heaven. Underneath, there is the triumphant figure of the risen Christ. The dignified gathering in heaven is linked to the crowd below through the altar and the Eucharist. A man leaning against a balustrade is pointing at his book and turns away from the holy book carried by angels in the center of the telescope. But what do human words mean as compared to the Word of God? Raphael's crowd, theologians, popes, and even artists like Dante, turn their eyes toward the altar. One of them points his finger upward, indicating thus the ultimate significance of revealed faith. In the frescoes ornamenting this room, Raphael illustrated for posterity the link between ancient knowledge and Christian wisdom, a dialogue between faith and reason. During the 10 years of his pontificate, Julius II transformed Rome through his patronage, vision, and courage. To undertake the most challenging tasks, he commissioned frescoes in Vatican City, laid foundations for the Vatican collection of antique art, and started the erection of the new St. Peter's Basilica. Making Rome more and more beautiful, he continued the work of his uncle, Sixtus IV. He built elegant streets such as Via Giulia, along which we may still find palaces of the aristocracy. The cultural heritage he left to Rome is the artistic primacy to be counted with even when the earthly authority of the Church disappeared. The golden age of Renaissance was soon shadowed by the dark clouds of the Reformation. Expenses on architectural projects and the need to cut off from the sophisticated lifestyle of some popes put an end to the thriving patronage and artistic creation. In 1527, during the sack of Rome, 16,000 mercenaries robbed the city and killed half its inhabitants. Artists and writers escaped with the Pope's court, leaving Rome without patron or projects. Rome did not fall into ruin, though, as 1,000 years before, but it revived. When the Council of Trent was introducing reforms and the papal fleet was dislodging invaders, the Pope started a new age, the age of discovery. This unparalleled gallery of maps is 120 meters long and prides on 40 maps of Italy, from alpine valleys to the southern regions of the country filled with sunshine. They were painted for Gregory XIII in 1583 by Ignazio Danti, and are a most avant-garde cartography of those times. The first 4 frescoes are the main ports of Italy: Venice and Ancona in the east coast, Genoa and Civitavecchia, port of Rome, in the coast of the Mediterranean Sea. Immediately after those, there are maps of the entire Italian boot. The first one shows the ancient Latin centers of the Roman Empire. The second one, the Christianized peninsula with Italian towns. The 16th century was an age of rapid development of cartography, hardly keeping up with explorers who reached the most distant places in the world. They were instantly followed by missionaries. In the 17th century, Pope Urban VIII Barberini had the gallery renovated. You may see bees everywhere, the Barberini coat of arms.